mix it up.
That's it. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. How you doing today?
Well, this is, the listeners don't know this is take 2. Totally just called you.
Totally.
We did the best intro that will never be heard.
We did.
It happens. It is a night. I did a recording with Tom Ackerman and Marcelo Balboa before the St. Louis City game, and I was just there to facilitate the Zoom. And like immediately when one of them got on, like, record. It's like already I'm like, my greatest fear is to not hit record.
So, yeah, Jen's selling me out here.
Sorry.
Got it going. All the bright lights were on, except for the most important one, and that would be the red one.
The record button. So.
The record. So we're going to do this part 2.
Welcome to Soccer Mom Sunday.
It is Soccer Mom Sunday on a Sunday morning. The first intro song was much more chill and relaxed, but our guest here on Take 2 was like, I really prefer rap, so here we go.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. My kids will like that a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Run the jewels. We're going to walk in. Now she's getting a little energy. Jen, how you doing?
Good. Tired after Sunday. It was for me, it was a long, just in terms of broadcast, from being on the pre-pregame to the pregame. And it was the first time we had, usually if the team travels, I don't go. I might have a recorded piece, but we kind of, I should say center-backed it, quarterbacked it from the studio, which was kind of a fun thing to try and give a shot. We got to go at it.
Well, just to kind of paint the picture, we're chatting the first time after our beloved City SC got bounced. Yeah, it's been a tough
How many notifications did you get on Twitter that had been tagged?
Enough to quit looking. It was a lot. But but again, we made our bed.
We did.
And here's why I want to go with this, because I don't want to try and replicate our conversation from earlier, which was a really good one, by the way.
Nobody will know.
But I want
take our word for it.
Here's part 2 of it. I believe that in sport in general, I don't care what level, whether it's CYC or MLS, rivalries are good.
Rivalries are good.
And I think from a fandom standpoint, there has to be a certain amount of vitriol included in the rivalry. Otherwise, it's just like kind of kissing cousins. Like, I don't like you. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. And I think for many also Cardinal fans, it brings up. I think I saw some memes of the call in the
85.
85. I was like 80 something, or Don Dickinger.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that Sporting KC's had a 26-year head start, and it took us 8 months to catch up and meet them in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to go from this. And today's episode is actually, I love it because it's literally embodies the core of my argument against most of my Kansas City fans, is that we are a soccer town that develops talent first. Yeah, it took us a while to get an MLS team. We've had measurable speed bumps. And one thing I thought about the other day that nobody's ever really talked about or pointed out? We had Stan Kroenke in our backyard for the first 10-plus years of the league. We were never going to get a team.
No, they weren't going to put soccer here with football. With the football that you don't play with the foot.
And with him, and he had already had his eyes set on Colorado.
Right.
So, we were behind the 8 ball as it was.
Yeah.
So,
and again, we don't want to replicate that amazing conversation that never got on tape. But yeah, they are in, as Lutz Fanenstiel would say, they checked a lot of boxes they didn't think they were going to check, especially in year 1. That was a year 2 box getting in the playoffs.
As far as accomplishments.
Yeah, even getting in the playoffs was year 2, much less being top of your conference. And, it's a lot of lessons learned. We saw... How many times did Coach Carnell rotate a lineup, right? More than probably any other coach, and learned a bunch of things on the way, and had the highs, had some lows, and then I think at the end got to have a taste of what the grind really looks like at the end, and now you can plan for that in year 2.
Well, the one thing that I will regurgitate here is, it's spend. Kansas City was middle of the pile within the league at close to $16 million in payroll. We're second from the bottom at 10.8. That gap will close, and the visible gaps that we saw on the field, especially over the last 3 or 4 games, a lot of those will be addressed. We're realistically going to lose probably a third of the faces that were really City 2 kind of plus ones going into this year. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be new.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep doing what we do. I mean, the stadium's not going anywhere. Our fandom isn't going anywhere. Our clubs aren't going anywhere. Our development is going nowhere. So
well, and unlike any other expansion team, this team's success makes them start earlier next year. So I was just on a broadcast planning call thinking, like, we're going to go on a break for a little bit. And it's like, no, we're not for very long. We're already going to think about January, where I wasn't a regular expansion team that finishes toward the end like they're supposed to.
Yep.
You're not getting that for several more years. So
well, they're going to need 4 to 6 weeks of prep minimum going into the first competitive match that they're going to play, which is going to be CONCACAF's.
Yeah, it's not that long away.
It's February. Mm-hmm. It's 23rd, something like that. I don't even. It's towards the end of February. So, look, New Year's is going to hit.
And they're called back to camp, I'm sure, pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, here we are.
So you've eaten it from Kansas City. And you know that,
my God,
you had to, and I appreciate that. But there will be a way that we have to make sure that, every once in a while, when you guys in the Soccer Dad pod side are here, we're handing it to Kansas City like we're supposed to. That we remember there's one of our own over there on a different team.
Absolutely,
team I'm super interested in. And even though it's from Kansas City, it's still a name.
What side of the river is that stadium?
I don't know.
That's very important.
Okay,
I'm going to look that up.
I'll look it up.
It is Missouri.
There we go.
Okay, well, so it comes from a soccer state.
There, see?
So they will, out of the gate, be exponentially better.
Boom, boom. Wow. That is a great segue to welcome in Alex Pfeiffer, St. Louisan, newest member of Kansas City Current. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And Kate, her mom, who gets to be here, and not dad. Not dad's here, Brian.
Soccer mom.
Soccer mom / Uber /
Uber for sure. Not for long, though.
Financial service person.
Oh, my God.
I was joking with my friend the other day. I was like, who would have thought I would turn out to be the ultimate soccer mom? This is not like what we had talked about when I was a kid. So it's cool, though. It's really cool.
I just remember seeing you guys. We both lived in Oakville together. I lived there at the same time. And my oldest daughter is just a year behind you, Alex. And so many times when they're super little, you just take them all. 3 to 5 years old, you're kicking around the ball.
Yeah.
I think you guys kicked around the ball at Gallagher together. Yeah. So just thinking about that journey of way back when we're kind of all like just bright-eyed and being like, I don't even know what's happening here, but here it is now.
Yeah.
And remind me of when that was announced. Like, I've got a bunch of articles up, and I'm like, when did you know? I guess I should say.
I think.
And you can't say when I was 7.
No, I don't know. When I knew I wanted to do this, I think it was last year. It's always been a dream of mine to I want to go pro. Like, this is my dream. But I think last year and the tours, getting to this year, that just came more realistic for me. And even especially this summer, that just came looking at the options for college, and I was just kind of weighing each one, and I kind of looked at the pro option, and I was like, I think this is what's going to benefit me the most.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back to 2023, which isn't even over yet, Alex, ECNL National Champion, ECNL National Player of the Year, now Kansas City Current's first ever under 18 signing, and I think it says the fourth youngest player to sign with an NWSL team, a league that is still very young. It only has 12 teams here at this point, and what a massive impact to have, a home state grown player, into this, MLS level. It's our pro level team. Congratulations!
Thank you so much.
So, were you thinking about this to JB's question, when you were just an itty bitty, and I got to coach you a little bit?
Yeah.
I remember one time telling you, I told you to do something on the field. We were this is just little 7v7 or 5v5. And it was so funny because you were so competitive back then as well, which I love, because that's the easiest player to coach, right? It's more holding you back, which it was probably one of those where I'm like, maybe let her teammate have the ball or something like that, right? Because you're so little and kids don't know. They just go get the ball.
Right. Everyone just goes hurdles around.
Hurdles around, right. Exactly. Herd ball. But yeah, and so you've played with Queen of All Saints.
Yep.
In many what's that called? City County?
Yeah, CYC, City County.
Did you take that all the way to 8th grade? Did you play all
No,
the way?
because I left Queen in 7th grade, so I played. Did I play 7th grade or because we won in 5th and 6th, and then 7th grade I don't think I played, and then I finished after 6th grade.
And
'cause
all
I
the other
left the
CYC
base.
teams went, thank you, Lynn.
I remember it was so
did,
competitive.
Did the other teams like approach the archdiocese and say, this girl's got to go?
Yeah, she's
No,
got to go.
I just remember the finals. They were so heated. Like, people were like
It was really
getting
heated,
into
yeah.
each other, and I'm like, it's CYC, guys. Like, this isn't even an ECNL game.
Speaking
Hey,
of
Alex,
rivalry, though,
we feel
yeah.
you. We talk about that all the time.
Speaking of rivalry, though, like remind me of who. I think mostly it
gosh.
was the state. It was either SMA.
That was a big
always
rivalry.
MMA
And like
at
their
some point.
tournament. They hosted like a tournament right before like CYC season would
That's
start.
right. They
and
had
it-
the pre. We had the post.
And like, yeah, we would like, that was who the final was, like us and them. And I just remember like it would get so heated because like,
Yeah. But we would ultimately meet somebody like all the West County teams,
yeah,
right?
like
in
the
semis
central, the
and in
South Central group, like
in the
St.
final.
Peter's,
Yeah.
Mary
Where-
Queen of Peace.
Let me ask a question to Mom real quick because, we're talking about that early drive, that early competitive bone. Jen, you saw it with her personally from a player standpoint, but you as mom, you and dad, was there a point where you were watching and the drive or the tenacity or competitiveness, did you realize at an early age, like, that's not normal? Like, it's elevated.
Yeah. So there's two things.
Alex
One-
is giving her such the side eye right now. She's like,
I'm gonna
what's
tell
mom
this-
going to
I
say?
don't know what she's gonna say.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
So
good
the-
at that. Just wait. There's more.
The first instance of her touching a soccer ball in an organized fashion, and when I say organized very loosely, was actually at St. Margaret Mary. It was like one of those, like, you go once a week. It was almost like a co-ed,
Yeah.
whatever. And the kids just run with the ball. So we got her these pink shoes and we got her this pink ball, and like they were just supposed to kick the ball around and kind of share and pass or whatever. And somebody wanted to kick her ball, and she was like, absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
I am running away with this ball at my feet.
my ball.
You can't have it. It's my ball. Right. So that was the first one. The second one was like when she first started playing soccer, and we threw her into everything. Like, we did not, like, as you all do, right? Like, you do basketball, you do volleyball, you do
You
softball.
don't know, so you do it all.
All of it.
Right.
But her first foray into soccer in kindergarten, you get jumbled up and put on whatever
That's
team.
right.
So she was with a bunch of girls that she didn't know, and her coach didn't really, like, nobody knew what anybody was capable of, so they put her in goal. And she played goal, like, the first, like, half of the game, and I was like, oh my gosh, she actually, like, dove for the ball, and she, like, kind of knew what she was doing. And then they were like, okay, we're going to switch it up. And so they put her out in the field, and then she scored, like, 6 goals. And I was like, okay, so that's different. And then she just kept doing that. And I was like, I have no idea where that came from. I did cartwheels in the
You
backfield
can't play soccer.
when I played CYC soccer. Like, Ryan's a decent athlete, but I was like, that's weird. So yeah, it was kind of like that. But then that carried over into other sports too. Like, she, wanted to win all the things.
So part B, real quick. Then
Yeah.
you were clearly not the soccer player as a
No.
child, right? No.
Oh, no.
What about Dad? Was soccer part of the family bloodline at all?
He played everything. Like, he was the youngest of 7, so he played all the sports. I mean, he mainly played hockey, and
Yeah, he's a hockey guy.
He played soccer. His brother played soccer. So
So youngest of 7. That's where the competitive
Oh, for
tenacity
sure.
came from. Is that?
Yeah, for sure.
Got it.
For sure. Yeah.
he was fighting for everything.
So thinking about back then, and with my daughter only being a year behind you, do you remember when you decided to go the select route? So select, club. I grew up saying select. Everybody says
Yeah.
club now. But when it was that, hey, CYC ball is awesome, but maybe it's not quite enough, or maybe she needs a little bit more than that, because you did both for a while.
Yeah.
So I feel like I remember you being about 7-ish.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah,
But like,
so I
what
think-
made you look at it?
Well, it was you. I think we somehow got hooked up with you guys, right? And like,
Yeah.
it was like, hey, let's go out to Gallagher and we'll just, do one of those 7v7
That's
Friday
right.
It was
night
like Friday
lights,
Night
right?
Lights,
It was
yeah.
so fun, and like that was our first.
Is there anything better than Friday
No,
Night
it's
Lights?
so
I don't know if
cute.
the kids
I
like
miss
it, but the parents
Everyone
usually
loves
have a
it.
good time.
Yeah,
It's a really good
everyone
time.
loves it. It's a win-win.
Even when it rains, like you're just like, okay, everybody go to the
They just run around. They
Yeah.
just run around.
go to the clubhouse. So then we just got a team together. Like there was a bunch of
girls.
There was a bunch of girls that were your age
From my school.
From school. So
Yeah.
it basically took our CYC team
okay.
of to Gallagher. Carlton Williams was our coach.
Yeah, I remember Carlton.
And so they all played together for like that first year. I feel like in the fall and the spring.
Yeah. Bunch of tournaments.
A bunch of tournaments, and she just loved it. that's what she wanted to do. And then, we kind of went from there.
And then I would
first
say
grade.
it's probably a mixture of you playing, right? And
Yeah.
then, the club's watching, every club's watching, and taking a look at who's now different from all the, you step up a level,
Yeah.
and then you look for people to differentiate themselves. And there are those athletes that go early and they differentiate themselves. How did you get then picked? Because I know that Gallagher, if they're still in the same system,
Yeah.
usually has as you get older, like ECNL, RL, but then like Navy, Green. At some point in time, they were like, you need to move up. How did that? Do you remember that? Or was that a mom story?
Well, I played for Missouri Rush for 2 years.
Oh, is that right? I forgot
yeah,
about
I
that.
left. I went to Missouri Rush for 2 years, and I played
She played up
It was
06.
06, I guess, because I was still with all my schoolmates. And then I came back and played one season with 07 Elite, and then I played that season. After that, Stitch brought me to an 06 tryout, because that's when they were going to ECNL.
Yeah.
And so he was like, just come out and try out one night. And I had never played 11v11 in my life. And so they just threw him on a field of scrimmage. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to run around in this like striker area of the field, stay on side. And so after that, Stitch, I think, called my dad. And he was like, they want her to play on the 06 ECNL Navy team. And I was like, oh. And like I had practiced those girls like the whole year. Like I was close to a few of them. So I was like, oh, okay. And I thought it was like super cool. And I was excited.
So that's a couple of steps up. I mean, not only are you stepping up in age, but to step up in age and they're at their higher level.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So does that then put you in relationship at all in those younger years of playing with like Grace Restovich, who's because she's older than you.
She's an 06.
06. Would you have played with her back then, or maybe not?
You
I
guys
didn't
didn't cross paths, I don't
till
think,
that
until
ECNL
that
year.
ECNL year.
Uh-huh, okay.
Because she always played 05
Yeah.
ECNL.
Go figure.
Well-
Nobody plays their age.
Let me ask you this question though about those years, just from a kid perspective. Because you're moving around a little bit, quickly from CYC out to Rush, and now you're back to Gallagher. You're trying out. Now you're moving up an age group. Was it always about soccer for you first, or did you ever have some consternation or stress or doubt about maybe not being with friends, or how did you balance that priority as a young woman?
For me, it was soccer first. Like, I knew I was going to make friends, like, no matter what team I was on, so I just focused on, like, what team could develop me more and, like, get there faster, I guess. So that's why I kind of went to the 06 team as well.
I don't know that she would have said develop me more back in
Yeah.
No,
second
but I
grade.
mean, still,
She would just wanted to be
I wanted-
challenged
yeah.
and wanted to be in a place where she was playing with like players, right? Like and just score goals. That's all she ever really wanted
Were
to
you
do.
cognizant at the earlier ages that when you did play with peers, it was just too easy?
I feel like when I played, like, my own age, or, like, when I was younger, like, some people, like, didn't really want to be there. It was like, oh, my parents kind of dragged me out here type of thing. And that was, like, the complete opposite of me. Like, I was like, oh, can I go to practice yet? Like, is it time? And I feel like that's kind of where it was different. And, like, they sometimes didn't want to be out there, and I always did.
Is that the ultimate, there might not be a right answer to this, but difference between somebody who eventually gets to your level and those who don't, which is also fine, but that, there is a time, and I don't know, I think it happens earlier than it happened maybe to us, Kate and JB, but there is a time when you sacrifice, right? And we already
Yeah.
know parents sacrifice, but that you also, like, there are dances you don't go to, or that can't go. I got soccer is a common phrase, and for somebody that's going to go and take it to the level you are, you're going to say that a lot. Does that
Yeah.
bother you?
I mean, it doesn't bother me that I missed. Like, I know last year I missed a ton of stuff, but at the same time, I look at, like, what's going to help me get better. And so that's where I kind of was like, okay, like, it's okay that I'm not hanging out with my friends this weekend, or I'm not going to the stands, because I know, like, in a year or two, like, I'm going to be better off somewhere else, I think.
I do have, maybe you could kind of address this, because
Yeah.
within our world of soccer, right, on both sides, there's a lot of naysayers that want to kind of throw shade at the academy process, kids that do miss out on
Yeah.
homecomings and things like that. Can you speak a little bit to kind of the emotion, the love that you have for competing,
Yeah.
and how some of these experiences, and I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Yeah.
but do some of these experiences, as far as you know, as a 15-year-old young woman, are those the memorable experiences that you look back on and that you take pride in, that make you feel good, much as somebody that's like, oh, I went to homecoming and I was on homecoming court? can you describe how important it is and how fun comes into play when you make the decisions you make?
Yeah, I feel like for me, like making those decisions, like, oh, I know I have this dance, or like someone invited me, like I would rather go to my soccer game the next morning and be ready to compete, because that's what makes me happy and that's what's fun, because I knew, like, what is this dance going to do? Like, yeah, I go for 2 hours and have fun, but like in life it doesn't mean anything. Like the next morning playing that game, like that will mean something
to
for
you,
years
right?
to come. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
What I mean by that is I like the way you're describing it, because I'm just thinking about, like, I have a friend of a friend who's going to go do a marathon. I'm like, why would you do that? Like I did a half twice, and I don't ever.
So
and
you
I
hate
just,
yourself.
I add
You're
them,
running
I
26 miles.
I just add them together. I'm like, I did one too. I didn't,
Yeah.
and I barely got through the 2 halves that I did. But in some way, shape, or form, she finds fun in that, right? I think
Right.
it's grueling and gross. I don't want to do that at all. But even when she finds it grueling and gross, she finds it fun. And I think
Yeah.
that what you're maybe describing is that your fun might just be in that game. So,
Yeah.
so it's just like, sometimes you may not, if you maybe go out the night before and have the dance, but you play in your game the next day, you're going to sacrifice that game. That would maybe bother you more than, than the other way.
That would make me more upset, I think. Especially if I played bad. I'd be like, whoa, I wasted last night and I played bad.
Mom, how hard is it for you and Dad to kind of see your child go through this process? And, you readily admit, you state, I was not that kind of an athlete. You
Yeah.
probably experienced more of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
How do you as a parent manage that expectation, seeing the things that you did that she's clearly missing, but understanding the drive on the other side?
I think it's a trade-off, really. I mean, like we went to dances and we, did all the kind of what I would call normal high school things.
That, thank God, there was no social media.
Thank God.
Nothing's documented.
Yeah, but I look at her and I think this is an extraordinary life that she wants to lead. And so I think the trade-off is she's got great friends, right? Like you just saw, and they're uber supportive and super sweet, and they want to see her as often as they can. So I think we try to make sure, like, when she's here or when she's, like we've already tried to kind of, connect her with some people that are maybe her own age in Kansas City that we barely know, right? Just to kind of give her that social balance, because she is still 15, almost 16, needs to be able to have some of those social skills and kind of like experiences. But at the same time, like she said, like this is her big dance, right? Like she wouldn't, and no offense to anybody, but she would never give up like watching Man City play to go get her hair done for a dance. That's just not her, right?
Why not Chelsea?
Ooh.
Oh shoot!
Oh.
You got to leave, Jake.
I understand.
I'm where's your
that.
mic? I'm going to pot it down.
Yeah, you can mute me.
Man
But
City
you
fan.
gave me so many questions when you asked that, Kate, because I'm thinking each summer, like, what is it, early June, mid-June-ish, I feel like parents in the youth game around the area are stressing. I did, when your kid's thinking about even changing clubs. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a change on a massive scale to go play pro. Even college decisions are huge, right? Like the planning process, Marin's only a freshman and there's already meetings for planning. And I'm like, I don't want to think about college right now. Why we got to talk about that?
Right.
And so what a big decision. And your kid your young lady is still a minor. Wow.
Yeah.
That had to be such a hard thing for you and Brian and you to talk through, Alex.
Yeah. So I can talk a little bit about like kind of how we got to this point. So like this summer, like as is the case for anybody in, ECNL or whatever kind of level you're playing, college recruitment is the process, right? Like you're all in this to like gain exposure, go to showcases and get people interested in you for that scholarship. And that was the path that we were on. Like she was, thinking about, okay, let me make this list of the top whatever schools I want to consider. But then I don't know what happened this summer. Something
She kicked ass. Let's just
she
say
did.
that's what happened.
Did you read all my checks? He says champion, player of the
I
year.
can't even explain to you all, like,
It was wild.
it was wild just being at that first game, and she scored 6 goals in that opening game, and I was like, this is wild.
What
Like,
did she eat for
something-
breakfast?
something
Everyone was
different.
asking you that.
Yeah, it was like Panera. so then, like, that's just kind of snowballed all the things. And this was not even, I mean, you listen to your kids say, I want to go pro. You know, she even still, like, I want to go pro. Okay, I want to go to Europe. Okay, I want to do this thing, right? Like, it's not, I don't think, going to stop. But I didn't really believe it, right? So, like, then we get kind of, you know, hooked up with some people who are like, hey, do you want to, you know, maybe even check out and see what this environment is like, right? So she had the opportunity to go and train, and I think for her, she was like, this is where I want to be. Like, I think this is it, and this is the level. And we were like, okay, well, let's talk about what that looks like, right? Like, we just were like, oh, go train and see, you know, how you do kind of thing. We just thought that was just like a thing that we're going to do for a few weeks, and then we'll come back and
you're like
be normal
You
again.
were going to go home and be like, that was fun.
That was fun. And then we're just going to go back to Gallagher.
That's how it was after the first week. You're like, oh, that was a fun week. Now let's
Yeah.
go back home. You got
And
some
Alex
ECNL
is like,
games.
dude, we need to talk.
Yeah, she's like, we got to stay here.
I don't want to leave.
Well, yeah. So let me ask you, Alex, specifically. You know, this past year, with everything that was going on with the call-ups to the national team and what your ECNL team was doing, that was completely unprecedented. When did you know? When did you know? Like, you know how there's a saying in sports where an athlete will say, I'm in the zone. I know I'm in the zone. I can't miss this shot, this putt, this whatever. When did you know you were in the zone, and what was the telltale for you?
I feel like when I got to KC and I was training that first week, and I was doing things I didn't expect myself to do in that environment, and I was like, all right, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And I remember talking to the GM, and she was like, is this really what you want? And I was like, yeah. And I looked at my mom, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want. And she was like, okay then, because I don't think anyone really expected me after that first week to like make that decision or think that's what I want to do. And
But you knew right then.
I knew after the first training session, this is where I want to be.
Okay, what was it about the first training session then? Just that caliber of player? I mean, they're also, most of them were quite a bit older than you.
Yeah, they're I'd say a fair amount older than me, but just the environment and what we were doing and playing and all that, and I was holding my own ground and competing, and I was like, well, if I can do this, why not continue doing this over the next few years?
And they had to. Kudos to the club then too, because you're only going to feel like that if they make it an environment where, one, you have to be competitive, but two, you also have to be welcome.
Yeah, I felt I was very welcome there by everyone, no matter how much older they were than me. They were welcome.
So let's back up like an hour and a half from the first session when you guys were pulling into town. You're settled. You're getting ready. You're putting on your cutoffs, and you're ready to roll out there. What was going through your guys' mind? Was there were you just chomping at the bit? Were you anxious? Were you like, Mom, were you like, holy shit, here we are? You know, what was going through your guys' head?
I think she just approached it like she does any kind of competitive situation. Like, she really does have this kind of routine that she goes through, and she was like, okay, I'm going to get myself in this frame of mind to be able to go out there and compete today and show them what I'm capable of, and then hopefully I'll be able to do that day after day this whole week, and then we'll see where it goes, right? Like, I don't know. I don't think really the gravity of all of it, I don't even think has really sunk in. I said it to somebody today. I was like, doesn't feel quite real yet, because we're back home, and we're just kind of like, the announcement happened, and we're kind of making plans to, get ourselves up there and do all that stuff. So it's kind of like, it's one day at a time, but I think she's just approached it like this is just any other competition that I've kind of prepared myself for mentally and physically.
And you as mom?
Yeah, it's similar. Like, honestly, I
think you had no expectations of me to do
I had
anything.
zero expectations. Yeah. I was just like, okay, so I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to come back to this hotel room, and I'm going to work all day.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go back and pick you up. And then we're just going to, like...
It's just like another soccer
It's
mom.
just like another
You
soccer
gotta
day.
drop off.
Like, I'm just going to drop my kid off at pro training. So, and I think we really just always want to support her and want her to be happy. And I think that was the funniest thing. That the second day she got in the car and she was like, Mom, this is it. Just to see the joy and happiness on your kid's face, like you couldn't ask for anything more. And so I'm just like, okay, well then let's talk about what this looks like.
That's really, I was actually kind of leading to my next question is how do you, and maybe there's no real answer. Maybe it depends on you and your kid and the dynamic between you, but like, keep stoking the fires of dreaming while also, every once in a while, like when my 12-year-old is like, tells the MLS players he meets that, I'm not going to be in the MLS because I'm going to be in Europe. And I'm like, you're 12. But it also, like, I want him to keep his feet on the ground, but I don't want to crush his dreams. But I also know that the percentage is so low.
For sure.
How do you walk that line?
I don't know. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely parents out there that are, my kid is the best, my kid's going to go pro, and I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, right? Like, I think there are some, I don't know, I don't personally know them, so, but
We do.
Okay, then they're there.
Then they exist.
We were never those people. We just always were like, work hard. Just work hard and keep chasing your dreams, and good things will happen, And I think that's the Midwest, maybe humility or something, or maybe it's the Gallagher humility and respect that you have for the game and for your, just the process.
I mean, I have a little bit of a theory, and you'll probably agree with me. You guys, you're not a soccer house.
No.
That's like, because a lot of the people that we know that we just said we do, those people do tend to have
expectations.
Yeah, well, deeper roots, historically, whether it was a high school championship or whatever it was, in which they're projecting a lot of these expectations. So kudos to you guys, because what I'm picking up here, you, Alex, you drove the car.
Yeah.
You kind of steered your own expectations.
It's your dream, not mom and dad's dream.
They were just there to support me and not, I guess, Uber me too, but be happy for me and just...
Yeah, eventually you're going to get a bill.
Yeah.
You're going to get a bill.
Yeah.
I hope you're adding to the invoice, Kate.
Oh my gosh.
The club soccer
It's
fees.
long. Well, I will say this, like there's no, we did, we expected her to work hard. Like we said, if you're going to do this, and if you're going to be
I'm gonna
in
use
the
your
ECNL,
time and your money.
and you're going to, spend all this time practicing and training on your own and doing all this stuff, you have to go out and perform.
Well, that's a quid pro quo that we as parents, when we do have children that excel at sport, obviously you do, we have high-performing kids as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't mind putting in the time, or frankly, even the investment, when you see discipline, when you see motivation, when you see those things.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe I'm putting the supposed answer before the question. Was it easy for you to go through this process when you saw her doing those things on the field, off the field, and just how she mentally reacted to it?
Yeah, I think she carries herself in a way that's way older than what she actually is. Like the maturity that she has, and like you talked about it earlier, the sacrifice. Like, it's not just the time and it's missing things. It's getting up, going to bed early, eating the right things, rest, recovery, nutrition, like all of it. Like she's driven all of it. Like I knew nothing. Brian's learned a lot about, like, okay, here's what you need to take for this. Here's what, here's all the kind of strategies that you need to put in place to make yourself successful. But you're right. It was her driving the car, because if it wasn't, we wouldn't do it.
Curious.
Like my son plays soccer, but I'm like, he just goes out and plays.
How old is brother?
He's 13. He plays volleyball. He's good at that.
He let soccer go this past year, and now he's just playing volleyball. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, for him, it was like let me go out and have fun and, like, kind of.
That was more of friends. He was like,
Friends
I'm going to do it with
thing.
my friends.
And there's different levels of where people want to compete, right?
Yeah.
Some people, you can be competitive in a multitude of ways, right? Like, you can be the best CYC player. You can be the best on Slice's premier team. You may choose to step up. There's all kinds of competitive levels. It's like, how competitive do you want to be, and what are you willing to do to get it? Question I have for you, though, is I work with a lot of athletes on mindset training and mental skills, and it's where, all those physical repetitions you do over and over and over and over. We saw it in our recent MLS game. We saw it in the Women's World Cup, where we've got, true pros that know how to take a penalty kick, and it doesn't get missed on physical skills. It's this stuff. Do you do anything, Alex, that like kind of get you on, tuned in mentally for either practices and or games?
Other than listen to hip hop.
Actually, I talked to someone about mental, so I
Good.
feel like she helps me a lot. Just
Excellent.
like visualization and like writing down like stuff before and after training really has helped me, and like finding something that I can do even before or after training that kind of like stops me from doing anything else, and like I'm just focused on like coloring or like reading a book, like I'm not worrying about anything else. I just drop what I'm doing. So I feel like that's helped me significantly in the past 2-3 months.
So Alex Pfeiffer just said it. Working on your mental game with whoever you work on it with, it does not matter, is just important, right?
Yeah.
It's all the touches that you take and all the things that you do physically. You have to also then take time to get that brain focused on either what you want it focused on or maybe not focusing on some things that you don't want it to focus on.
Well, yeah, let me ask you a mental question then, because there's so many different types of players and Jen coaches so many different types of athletes, but you have, especially at the competitive level, when you think about your camp mates or even your ECNL team, these are girls that are at the top of the game, right? And you probably see this because I see this with my son and their team, where there's a difference between players that have a mindset, they play, and specifically when they make a mistake or whenever something adverse occurs and how they react. There are those that respond physically, emotionally.
Double down.
Yeah, you can see the reaction to the negative. And then there are those players that just seem as if they already forgot what happened. How do you, within the flow of a game and with your teammates, when adversity occurs, you get scored against, or you make a mistake or turnover or whatever it is, do you dwell? Do you think? Do you go back? How do you handle micro and macro failures on the field and off the field?
I'm going to be honest, probably...
Mama's laughing.
I struggled
We prefer
severely.
lies on this show.
I struggled really bad with this, like, from
Up
a young
until,
age.
a few months ago, honestly,
It was
she's
pretty
a work
bad.
in progress, I will say.
Yeah.
Like, I would get so upset if I hit the crossbar or if my teammate, I gave them a great ball and it messed up. Like, I would take that as, oh, that was my fault, and then I would get so wrapped up in myself. And, sometimes it would affect the next play, but after that, I think I just started, realizing, I can't get over, I got to get over this, and, I have to keep going. There's 85 plus more minutes. I just made a mistake in the first 5 minutes. That's not going to affect, if I let it affect me, it's going to affect the last 85, but if I don't, then I can have a great game and forget about what I just did.
Yeah.
Do you internalize it, or are you more vocal whenever you do get frustrated?
I'm more internal. You can see it off of me, but I'm not going to go yell or, scream or kick or anything. I just keep it inside.
Yeah.
Which is going to be hard. I mean, it can be hard on you too.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it's not bad for, you don't want to rip your own player down, but at the same time to have a frustration, to internalize that, because you're also trying to stay a good teammate.
Yeah.
Keep the vibe of the team good. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
Yeah, it was difficult. I feel like especially in the spring, I struggled pretty bad with that. It was hard. But I feel like we've gotten over that, and it's gotten much better.
Did you guys lose a game?
The spring was
The spring is different.
It's different because everyone on my team goes and plays high school.
Yeah.
So I was with girls that are 08s, 07s, 09s. It's a combined. Gallagher does a spring Super Cup
Yeah.
team. You play against
Composite,
boys.
sort
You
of,
play
yeah.
against other ECNL clubs that do the same thing. And that was just really hard for
I think you were in and out of so many different environments.
I was
she was
there.
at US camp, and then she
Yeah.
was there, and then she was somewhere
So that
else.
level,
and
it was just that was the hardest part. Going from being at a
Going
US
up and
level,
down.
then coming back and being at this level, and I was like it was just so different.
But I think too, maturity plays a big part. Only 15, kind of growing up. Some players, I've seen players on your team on the 06 team who've always just been able to kind of okay, head down, next play, we'll get it, we'll do it. That's something she's learning to do. And this person that we,
That's awesome.
kind of found for her, I think is really helping her understand that it really is not that deep. The next play, and there's more tech. I mean,
There's
talked
more,
to her.
yeah,
There's more to it. It's not that simple, but I think it's one of the most important things that we did for her. Just with everything coming at her, having her have an outlet of somebody who understands this world and understands what will help her.
Yeah.
Because it's not. You're right. It's not just physical. It's mental. A lot of it is.
Yeah, even the physical skill you initiate, the brain does all that. It just
Right.
gets
Yeah.
really busy when there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
JB, I'm remembering back to the first episode we did with Bree McCarthy, who's over at Lufuse, and she was a Canadian national player. But one of the things that she remarked on was, for her, that the lack of teenage young players playing pro in the U.S. as compared to over in Europe. Does that strike you? I mean, there's not that many teenagers playing in pro. Do we need more?
I think if you want it and you want that drive and you want the next level, then I think because talking to my national teammates, like, there's a few of them that go pro right now, and they just don't simply want that. Like, they want to go to college and they want that experience. And I think if you want the pro life and that like lifestyle, then yeah, you should make that jump, because you look at Europe and they're like, college isn't even an option really for them. If you want to come play college, you come over here. Over there, you're at the U18 team and you're like trying to break into the second team or the first team, signing a first team contract, like stuff like that.
That's more academy-like, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
I think it's more
we
like,
don't have that in the women's game
No.
here.
Not yet.
Okay, so no disrespect at all to current
Yeah.
dream team. You play anywhere because you've been following it. You know that professional leagues, our league is developing. The European leagues are a little bit more advanced. Do you have that North Star that was pinned up on the wall for, over the last few years?
I'd say Man City.
Man City.
She's gonna stay true.
I
She's a
would
fan.
love to go play for Man City. I know Scotty at Gallagher, he's a big Arsenal fan. He's like, oh, you got to go to Arsenal. Got to go to Arsenal. I'm like,
Nobody's listening to Scotty. No.
I think Man City, that'd be cool. I think obviously Barcelona, what they're doing is absolutely insane. And I think Lyon too. I would like to play in France. I do take French class, so I've been trying to work on that.
I'm getting ready.
I was talking to my agent about it. I'm like, I'm working on my French. And he was like, okay, good.
What do you think, Mom? Lyon or London?
And where do you want to go, Mom?
No, I'm getting shipped off this time.
First, let's go to Kansas City and let's
Yeah.
True.
Oh, this is how,
Just
this
don't
is
eat
how
their
you do it.
barbecue.
You rein them back in.
Yeah. And then
You rein the hopes and the dreams back to
Just
reality.
a little bit,
just a little bit.
but
Well-
just a dream.
But those hopes and dreams, now that the league is starting to prosper, when you look at, Kansas City's one of the better examples because they're putting some real money into it. It's a soccer-specific stadium that is theirs. You got to feel like, maybe you don't realize it yet, or maybe you guys have talked about it. You're on the tip of the arrow of kind of where this is going, because clearly there was national press in regards to your signing within the soccer world. Has any of that reality set in that you are, all this work, all this dedication and drive, it's clipping on another level? Are you cognizant of what it means to other young girls that are looking at you as an idol?
You
Yeah.
have fans. They're in my house.
I think I've realized it a little bit, but I don't think it's set in fully. Like, I understand, I saw some of the comments, like, how excited people were for me, and I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, you could live in Europe, and I've never, I just don't know you. And I think also Gallagher is, they've done that too. Like, a lot of the younger girls, even before any of this, they looked up to my 06 team because of what we had done the past 2 years. So, they would come to our games and they'd sit there and watch and they'd just be so excited for us. So I feel like I've realized there's little girls that truly look up to not even just me, but girls on my the Gallagher team. So I feel like it's realized a little bit, but from a KC perspective, I don't think it's really set in for me that oh my gosh, I'm going to be playing in that new stadium next year.
Well, and little girls are going to be buying your jersey.
Yeah,
and
I haven't
your
realized
name will
that
be
yet.
on their backs.
Your
Yeah.
picture will be on their wall, or their, I don't know, people that do anything, put on their
The wallpaper?
on their wallpaper on their
Yeah.
phone. Two questions. I want to get them out so I don't forget. Number one, I know Casey has talked a lot about the female specific stadium, and I'd really like to know if you know what that really means. I'm hoping it doesn't mean anything different other than it's just dedicated to that team and they're not going to get bounced by another team. And two, you mentioned pro-life. What is pro-life? But first the stadium.
Yeah.
I just want to forget.
No, it's totally women's. I was talking to someone about it, and she was like, we may have small concerts here. Other than that, or maybe some rugby. Other than that, it is ours all the time. No one else is
So
going to
that
come
when
in.
they say female specific, because so if you go to my generation, you're gonna look and be like, did you make the field smaller? Did you short back?
Yeah.
If you talk to Michelle Akers, they only played 80-minute halves
Yeah.
because way back then it wasn't thought that women could play 90-minute game. Are you kidding? So I'm hoping the stadium is just because it's dedicated.
It's
which is awesome.
exactly same. You look at City Park and you compare it to that. Yeah, the size is different, but I think to me the field
Yeah.
is the exact
For
same.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they sold out season tickets.
They did.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is very impressive for them.
We've seen the we've seen it twice, like walked through. And,
I've seen it 3 actually.
Oh, you've seen it? Oh,
Yeah, Mom.
I've seen
Keep
that
up, Mom.
progress.
of course you have. It's going to be amazing.
The
Like,
progress
the
that
progress
has
is-
been made.
The locker room.
Sadly, can't go in.
Oh well, it's amazing. Like just all the kind of like you can see the structure of what's
Yeah.
happening and like
And the
just
river.
The
I think that's
atmosphere,
the best
having
part.
The river run right behind it and the scoreboard.
And the food in the stadium's going to be insane.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that as being maybe a fan.
It is going to be good.
yeah.
So you mentioned pro life,
Yeah.
right? And so, like you said, like some people are capable of playing pro, but they want college life.
Yeah.
And I have an idea of what that was like, having played at a point a long time ago. But I don't. I mean, what is pro life? How is it different? Do you know, like how
I
it is?
kind of have. I mean, I was there all of October, so I kind of know like what I would do for next season.
Like,
And,
what does a day in a life look for Alex Pfeiffer when she is playing for the Kansas City Current and she's not here in St. Louis anymore?
Yeah.
I know that like we did training at 10:30. I don't know how much that's going to change next year with everyone coming in, so we'll see. But I get there like 8:30, eat breakfast because the chef's amazing, so it's top food. Then meetings at 9:15. So like normally I would either sit in there and just eat and wait and chill and talk to other people, or I would go over into the academy building and get dressed into my training gear, and then I'd come back for the meeting. So it just kind of depends. But after the meeting, which is normally just like what you're doing for training, or if they were like still playing, they would talk about like what they're doing for the week to prepare for the game at the end of the week. So it just kind of depends like what the week looked like. So after that, I would go back and get my cleats or get ready, and then I'd have like 20-30 minutes, and then I'd go out to the field, and I would just mess around for like 20 minutes just juggling with like some of the players, which is always fun because like just juggling with them or just passing with them is always a fun thing to do. And then after that, we train from like 10:30 probably. I was normally out there from at least 12:15 because we'd train, and then I always like to do shooting after with some of the assistant coaches because they played, so like it's always fun doing that with them. And then I would go in and eat lunch, shower, and then my mom would come pick me up. But I feel like next season, I think I'd probably do some schoolwork there.
Doesn't say.
Well, she does school in the
yeah.
so she did all that in the morning,
school.
right? And then comes back and then does school for like 3
Online,
to 4
right?
hours.
So yours is online.
Yeah, it's completely
It's like a
online.
long day. It's a long day.
Yeah,
But I mean, like
it's fun.
it's fun. She, wouldn't have it any other way. But we'll see. You know what I mean? Like we don't know what
Yeah, a lot could
preseason
change.
looks like and what it looks like when you're preparing to go out of town and kind of all of those things.
So do I have this right that I heard that once you commit pro, you're not playing college ball? Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay,
I can only take I can do education.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
But other
then-
than that, no.
Right.
I cannot play any.
Yeah.
How
had to be a
were
big
you with
decision.
that? Yeah, I was gonna.
So for me and Brian, we were always like, you're going to college, you're going to get an education. Like, you have to do that because at some point
Yeah.
you will not be kicking a ball anymore in the same way that you are now. And so, like, you're going to have to have
Or you
some
will,
kind of-
and it really hurts the next day.
Yeah, it's painful.
you're going to have an education to support whatever kind of career you want, whether it's coaching or like, managing or whatever it is. I think that, understanding that we needed to be supportive of her being able to accelerate her development, understanding that she could go back to college or she can take classes, right? Like we've actually talked a little bit about that too. Like, okay, when she's done with high school, which she still has to finish that, I want her to keep going to school and earn her degree. If it takes her 5-7 years, whatever that means, but it should be something that is meaningful to her and that she's going to be able to use. But I think we just understood that this is kind of like the prime time for her and her skill and she's still growing and developing. And so like, let's let her play out those, play that out right now while you're young,
Yeah.
Well, let me. I'm really curious about your opinion, kind of the feelings that you get when it pertains to two things in particular. One is you're a teenage pro women's soccer player going to a team that has a dedicated stadium. And on this show we often talk about the inequity between the men's side and the women's side. across the board in different spectrums. Has it set in that you're part of that battle, part of that movement to raise awareness, to raise kind of the value of the women's side of the game? Is that important to you at all?
Yeah, it's really important to me. I think I recognized it maybe last year or 2 years. Like, I just thought about it and I was like, how can I change women's soccer? Because I feel like it needs to change some way or another, because I think if people like-minded like me should be able to just go through an academy and be able to jump onto a first team. I think that's something that I'm passionate about and want to help do.
Yeah, I mean, I think she sees, every couple of weeks there's another 14, 15-year-old boy that's getting signed to a homegrown contract, and she was like, I want to do that. Like, that's how do I do that? And I think Kansas City has, the owners have been very vocal about trying to create that pro to pathway, and that there is this, I think, what you're kind of alluding to is this shift in women's soccer that we need to do more, especially as we think about our first national team, to develop them at younger ages that get them to this point more quickly.
Yeah.
And just to give that infrastructure, or have that infrastructure in place for players like Alex, and I know there's tons of others, right, that want to do this, but it's just not there yet, right? So how do you kind of work to make sure that you're making your voice known, and that you can help in any way that you can, for sure.
The other front that I'm curious about is, again, getting into your gut, your heart, and that is playing for the national team. The opportunity to wear that kit.
Yeah.
When the opportunity presented itself the first time, and then fast forwarding through to now and the experiences that you have, do you look at patriotism or the pride in wearing that jersey?
Yeah.
Do you look at it differently now, kind of given where you've been navigating from club and now pro, and there's the national team that's just continues to support you? How does that make you feel as an American woman?
I think the feeling is honestly unreal. They told us there's only two people that ever get to represent your country: those who fight for us and those who get to play sports for us. So I think I take pride in that, because I'm one of very few that actually get to represent our country at a world stage, and I think that's really important to me. And I think it is a different feeling. Even when I would put that jersey on compared to Gallagher, I was like, oh, this feels different. This is different. And I don't even know how to explain it.
I'm not going to tell Petch that.
No,
Petch knows, but
I think everyone that's played in a national team feels that way. I was talking to Grace about it, and she's like, it's just different. When you play in front of those type of people, and I don't know, it's crazy.
Well, I would say, you would know better, right?
Yeah.
But the just environment, right?
It's different. It's everyone's there to push each other, be better. But they're also there, at the same time, they're some of my best friends, I would say. So, it's a competitive but also very tight friendships, but also not so tight friendships.
At times.
you're competing.
Right, yeah. Sometimes it happens to everyone, no matter what team. Is it national team, it's club, it's pro, you don't have those friendships with everyone.
Yeah, you're battling with that player to get better, to make them better, but to also get the
Beat them
minutes.
out, yeah.
That's right, absolutely. And that's the coolest part about competition is I also find, for me anyway, that many times you hear being competitive being used as a derogatory term, he or she is so competitive. It's that's not bad.
No, not at all.
You can be a recreational player who's a big fat jerk, and you can be a super competitive player that's a great sport.
Yeah.
But when we step on the pitch,
Right.
I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I'm going to do what it takes to win. And if I foul you, or whatever that means. Alice, what has been, and Mom, your would you say your biggest, what a whirlwind, right? But if you've kind of taken a breath in this moment, what's been the biggest takeaway or lesson so far? Because I'm sure you're going to have plenty more. They're smiling at each other.
No,
You can't see
no,
it.
you can go.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Alex is I need a moment.
I want to hear what you have to say.
I think that we are just so grateful for the opportunity, and we don't know what to expect, really. Do you know what I mean? I said earlier, that it doesn't feel real because we're here at home, making plans to get there, and trying to navigate what that looks like. We're gonna go first, and then my husband and son will come over the summer, and So it's just, I think, just gratitude that this opportunity is in front of us, and that we should just like be grateful every day for what's to come. And it's exciting. I mean, you can't but again, for me, I think when I get to that stadium and see her walk out on the field for the first time, I'm going to cry my eyes out, even if she doesn't get into the game. You know, come on, any parent would.
Sure.
So,
I don't know about that. You're just different, I
sometimes
guess.
happy.
What about
really
you,
happy.
Alex? What about you? What do you think so far?
I feel like I have two. I feel like the biggest takeaway for me is just honestly seeing hard work pay off. I know I still have so much to do, but I don't think I've honestly seen seeing it for myself. I've seen other people do it, but I've never seen myself work so hard for something and then it actually happen. I feel like it's been such a long process, but
All your 15 years.
In my long 15 years.
No, but I mean it was a long process, and it's exciting and crazy that it's finally happened, but I still have so much to do, and I think the work continues. But my other takeaway I would say is just obviously I'm super grateful for this opportunity, and I thank KC so much for it, and I don't think it'd be possible without all their support and help, and even the fans, they're already pretty supportive. But
online.
Yeah.
Even here in St. Louis?
Missouri fans, right?
Missouri.
The Missouri fans that happen to live in Kansas City.
Well played.
You say that over
Well
and over
played.
and over and
Well
over.
played. See, she's already getting good for media. Quick one more is so I got a 7-year-old and I got a 15-year-old who's not far, 7-year-old maybe doesn't need advice because every other day she changes what she wants to do, whatever, it's fine. But that 15-year-old, she's a whole lot closer to you, and she's she's got an eyeball on some stuff. For people like that, or maybe they're 10 or they're 12 and they're looking up to you, what's something they got to think about, or what's a piece of advice besides doing all your touches? What is something that they need to think about if this is where they want to go?
First, I would say, if I had the opportunity, I would, in time to go back, to go more into my mental part, because I think if you establish a strong mental game, you will be unstoppable no matter how good your skill is. You're already better than everyone else on the pitch because your mental is so much stronger. So I would say having a really strong mental game, and also just being passionate and respectful and happy and joyful, because you never know what tomorrow holds. You might not be able to play soccer ever again. I think that's kind of what I look at.
That's awesome.
You're
Can I
a pro.
have that audio clip, please? I need that. I need to play that for mental
I'll cut that out. Yeah,
Thank you.
You're a pro. Now I'm gonna close this out with two extremely hard-hitting questions here.
Oh no.
Yeah. Number one is, after your first contract and you kill it,
Yeah.
and the big re-up comes and they splash a barge worth of cash your way, what's the first thing you buy? What's the first big frivolous purchase?
Mom's like, my invoice.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would probably get them something. Aww. Because I look at other people and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I wish I could give my parents something one day.
Aw, thanks.
Or I would get myself a car.
What kind of car?
Probably a Porsche SUV.
Very practical, yet
Yeah.
Porsche.
Not at all practical. I just saw a crash test where the Porsche got.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, mom's
Totally.
a Volvo.
Mom's like,
You gotta buy a
no.
Volvo. Hey, now the much more important question. First home game, for whatever. First game you play, mom and dad are there, front row. You score the game winner in sudden death. Who do you blow your kiss to?
My brother.
Neutral.
Probably
very
trained.
neutral.
Well done.
She is more than prepared for media.
Honestly, he's my biggest supporter.
He is
On the
her biggest
lowest of
fan.
keys, he's my biggest supporter.
Yeah,
Aw.
he is.
Hey, this has been a blast for me.
Me too.
Us too.
Alex, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck. We
Thank
will be
you.
following you, obviously,
Thank you.
your path, and
Yeah.
we will be fans. Mom, Kate, thank you
you.
for the Ubering and the groceries
Mom.
and all that
Soccer
other
momming.
stuff.
Soccer momming.
And Jen, thank you.
Thank you.
for keeping me on the rails today. Guys, best of luck. We'll
you
see
so
you
much.
next time.
Yep.
And we already want to commit them to a part 2.
Oh, you're coming back.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
All
Yeah,
right.
maybe it's soccer dad, so your dad can
Yeah.
be a little.
Oh, we can move you over to the other side of the fence. Bring your dad can come chat with us.
Maybe.
Have you listened to any of that? Have you heard Jared Bertrand or those guys on there?
I've heard a little bit of it, yeah.
Okay,
My
I
dad,
apologize now.
I'll be in the car and it's on.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
And now you're gonna like, Dad, I got my own. Listen to
Yeah.
my
All right.
episode.
Well, I tell you what. Here's what we'll do. I'll double down.
Yeah.
Bring your dad and your brother on with you.
Perfect.
Come over to the Soccer Dad Pod. We'll make that happen.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great rest of the week.
You too.
Jen, we'll see you
you
next
on the next
time.
one.
Mellow Mushroom, thank you for hosting. And we're out here with a little Alex's favorite, little Kanye. See ya.